Welcome. We have an extra special treat today. We have two guests, Leanne and Jamie Willard, and they are co-owners of W Executive Suites and Sisters. So the power duo is with us today. It's so fun, Leanne. I've gotten to meet you in person now, and I don't think we've ever had another Jamie on except Jamie Hodari. So she's in good company.
Yeah.
So fun.
Jamie
Thank you.
Power.
Yeah, totally. So thanks for making this work. We're excited to get to know you guys and your business a little bit more. Gio, you want to start?
Yeah, no, I think it's super exciting. We ever have Leanne as a panelist at Phoenix GWA. So it took a little coercing to get her there, but it was awesome to have her on the panel. And it was a hospitality panel, right, Leanne?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure I'm going to say yes unless you made that personal phone call.
And by the way, I was walking through the Viking Museum in Iceland when I called her. That's how bad we were I've been trying to get a hold of her. And I'm like, I am on vacation in Iceland. And
why was she dodging you? Why the dodging?
Well,
I don't know. Ask her.
I was nervous. I didn't think with us only having 4 centers, I wasn't sure we were the largest player in the group or one of the largest players be providing other people with guidance. So
imposter syndrome. No, we can't have this. Okay, great. 4, not that many people even have 4 locations.
We're finding that out though. That's like something new to us. We don't understand anyone in the industry that wouldn't have multiple locations. I think that's an odd thing.
Going back to making money, why does everybody only have 1 location? Okay, how long have you been open? When did you start your first location?
November 2018. Do I have that right, Jamie?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, tell us the story. How did you get into this business? And how did you decide to start a business as siblings?
You want me to answer it? Sure. Love the story. So traditionally, our family has been in commercial real estate for a long time. 30 years, you'd say, Leanne. So our father's our principal partner, so it's all family. And he owned a bunch of commercial real estate. So we naturally have a property management company, real estate brokerage firm, development construction company. So we have all the arms we would need to build our own commercial real estate, manage our own real estate, do the leasing of our own real estate. We have outsourced leasing in the past, but that's on bigger projects if we need to. And so we came across a building in Port St. Lucie, which is our first location for the executive suites. And there was a floor that was empty. The building was broken. I needed a facelift, but it was in a Class A location right off I-95. And we had been in executive suites before as what do we call ourselves? Licensees. And
like you officed out of an
like different
customer. Okay.
Locations that we had in different counties for our own selves, for our construction development teams. And so we knew how the model worked, and we were already in real estate. I said, let's take this 15,000 square foot floor and let's create another division inside of our company to have an operating arm for an executive suite. And we did it with the intent to make money, of course, but it was kind of a little bit of a trip and stumble because although we were in commercial real estate, we weren't operators in executive suites. So what we didn't know then and what we know now is very different. But
this looks easy. It's
probably we definitely said, this is going to be easy. It's going to be great. We're already in the business. Well, we got this. What do we not know?
Real estate is not an operating business. It's very different.
But I'm going to save that soundbite for all the land.
It was a fun start, and we did our own build out on it. We did our own design. And then it became very successful. And we were like, wow, we really like this. And so Leanne, came in and I said, hey, I think we have something here. Like, let's take it to the next level. And then since then, we've just been growing and growing and growing. And it's become kind of Leanne and I's little project. And it's more than a project now, right? Because now we're multiple locations.
But they did. Yeah. 4 locations. Yeah.
And no one better to do it within your own sister. And it's been really fun. And our father's been extremely supportive. He's, we don't even call him dad anymore. Everything we call him by his first name. It's a completely different situation. It's been fun. That's how we got into it though. It was not accidental, but it almost was at the same time.
So do y'all own all the buildings?
Before Gio jumps in, I'm having like a memory. I have totally, at least Jamie, we must have, did you go to the
I went to
conference?
GWA for the first, not
Yeah.
this year, but I went the trailing 2 years before that.
Jamie,
Okay.
you know what it was? It was DC when we had it there, and you were on a panel, and you had this beautiful red dress on, and when you walked in, you owned the room. And we had been looking at your community manager program, and I said, Jamie, that's Jamie. We need to introduce ourselves. And after that, I think that's where you met Sister
Totally.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Now I was like, oh, I didn't think I'd met you two before. And then for whatever reason, when Jamie started talking, I was like, I had a flash of, oh my gosh, I remember these two. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Gio?
that was the beginning.
It was the dress. So do y'all own all the buildings?
No, we only own 2 of the 4 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, Gio, because the servicing experience is different, right? So if I could, in a perfect world, I would love to own all of our buildings just because we control 100% of the experience. And it is interesting working with a third party landlord. It's like a marriage, which we all know doesn't always work. So
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. So I had that conversation earlier with a client that Jamie is working with. They're looking in Atlanta, and that was one of their questions is, what do you think about buying? I'm like, buying to me is always the preference, but the capital constraint to purchase versus to lease is significant, right? Because you've got to put up the equity for the building, and there is no TI package or rent abatement, right? I mean, so you throw all that together, and so it takes a whole lot more capital, but definitely you're playing the OpCo RealCo game, obviously taking advantage of the equity growth in those opportunities. And so what is y'all, I mean, where are y'all growth wise? Y'all are at 4, y'all going to continue to grow, or y'all kind of done? What's the plan?
Well, I think I have 2 comments there for you. So one, I think the capital constraints in the market is really taxing, right? So even opening up another center, even leasing between carry cost and the build out that you're responsible for, it's hard to secure funding. And we're struggling with that now. We've talked to several institutions, and so we're trying to look at our growth plan to say, okay, how does this all fit together? And so there is, although, a lot of equity that needs to be put into buying real estate, I think there's some opportunity to be able to finance your build out and find that financing that you need to kind of establish the center. So as we look at our growth plan, I think in a perfect world, we'd love to grow 2 a year, but it's really going to be contingent on capital. But I think the sky's the limit, right, Jamie? We don't really have a cap on it. I think our magic number would be 25 in a perfect world, but I wouldn't stop there if we don't need to.
All in Florida, or what are you thinking geographically?
Or Jamie has just recently relocated to the Northeast, so she's fully remote for us now. So we'll definitely open a division somewhere in the Northeast.
Oh, okay,
Where's
I
the
like it.
Northeast? That's
Yeah. New Jersey?
No, right now I'm in Connecticut.
Okay.
But when you talk about the Northeast, I feel like they're all the lines of the states are touching. They might as well all be one state, for goodness sakes, here. 1 hour this way, you're in New York. 1 hour that way, you're in Boston or Massachusetts. Like it just, it's a lot different.
Did you grow up in Florida?
I grew up in Florida. I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you both did.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we're 3 generation South Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Which is not common anymore. It's a very transplant state, right? There's a lot of people that are coming and going.
Yeah.
So if I had my wish list, I'd open 5 up here in this area. I've been working on identifying what areas work the best for our model. Because like Giovanni said earlier, co-working versus private office executive suites, like what's your model? What are you offering? Who's your clientele? So working on that right now.
I would help you understand where you should open. I don't know.
Oh, I'm definitely going to have a sideline conversation with you about that.
Yeah, and and you made a great point. That market is so interesting up there because it is so easy to get everywhere, right? I'm meeting the Caddo guys.
Easy, not easy. I mean, okay.
Well, let me finish, right? So I'm meeting the Caddo guys, and y'all haven't seen their model. They're based here out of Dallas, and they actually own their buildings. And so they're actually building 42,000 square foot buildings. And so I'll send you some stuff on them, but I'm meeting them tomorrow to go hunting. and I'm literally driving 6 hours to meet them in the panhandle of Texas. So that's how far we can drive and still be in the state. So it's so interesting. But I mean, Florida's kind of the same way, right? You can drive all up the coast and into the panhandle, and it takes a while. But I think the beauty of up there where you're looking is there's so much opportunity because everything's a suburb of something, like a suburb of New York, a suburb of Boston, a
Like
suburb of
20
Philly.
minute. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to identify where our competitors are. When I say competitors, like who's at our quality and offering kind of around the same product. Why are they there? You know, why reinvent the wheel? But I also don't want to be right next to anyone like Office Evolution, who's, our situation in West Palm right now. We're right on top of each other.
What's your ideal floor plate, like square footage wise?
I would say 18,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet. Our centers now are actually smaller than that. Our first one is 30,000 square feet. So the one that Jamie said we originally started in, we ended up taking a whole second floor, which is fantastic. We
Okay.
did it last year. We have 118 private offices there. But our other 3 centers are in between 11 and 15,000 square feet. And I think they're just a little too small.
Yeah.
So going forward, I think our average will be 18 to 20,000, 75 to 80 private offices, and then common areas and things of that nature.
As far as
Yeah,
your conference, go ahead. Sorry, Jamie.
We've opened 4 locations so far, but in the last 5 years, 2 of those locations we expanded and took on 2 additional floors. So it's like we felt like we opened a whole other center on top of it, even though we in the same location. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, and that's a great way to look at it. I mean, it's always that growth model is always really interesting. So I don't know if y'all know, but I was with Regis for 4.5 years on the real estate team. And so when I joined, so they used to take a floor to in a building. And when I joined, they'd made the transition to go, we'd rather drop another dot on the map across the street or nearby and be able to cross sell rather than taking additional floors in the same building. So that's always really interesting. And obviously they have a totally different footprint and model from an employee standpoint, but being able to run a space in the same building on a different floor makes it so much easier from an operational standpoint.
There's a lot of efficiencies that come with it. We run a really lean team. So for every 15,000 square feet, we have one community manager. And so then we obviously cover our community manager in our West Palm office is out Thursday and Friday. So I'm the acting community manager. So we cover each other a lot, but in a perfect world, we'll build out regions, 5 to 6, 7 locations with centralized oversight, and then start to build them in that capacity. So geography is really important. If you're responsible for overseeing 7 different locations, they need to be quickly drivable too. And so we'll just start to replicate and just, scale the footprint over and over and over up and down the coast.
And Florida's only getting stronger, right? So, I mean, it's just incredible what's going on. So I'll tell you, Office Evolution sold a franchise to a guy in Melbourne, and we looked for 2.5 years, all the way down to y'all's location. And there's just not a whole lot of options, right? And so I think that's the biggest issue as it comes to Florida. Obviously, you get in the bigger cities like the West Palms and the Fort Lauderdales, and then you're going, okay, where do I really want to be, right? What's the demographic and the density around me? But I mean, you start getting in some of these smaller communities, which, I mean, a city like Melbourne, all day long, you could drop 12 to 15,000 feet and do well. It becomes, what does that look like, right? And then you end up in an Orlando and you're like, okay, do I want to, what's my play here? You've got a bunch of people struggling in the urban core, right? Downtown, the Venture X is struggling. The old Serendipity Labs is struggling. I don't even know if it's still called Serendipity Labs, but, and so it's interesting just to figure out what those dynamics are. So from a overall client standpoint, what are y'all seeing mainly in your spaces? What kind of professionals are leasing from you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Right now, our clientele, what's the age range, would you say, Leanne? It's somewhere between 30s and maybe 40s to 60s, like, or late 30s and up. Like we They're very professional, well established. They're not the pop-up shop or the new young aged, no one in their 20s, I think, would rent from us. Like, we're a very traditional executive suite private office that holds the value in office space that should always be there. There's no beer drinking in our office. And I say that because some of
I
the
love that.
co-working spaces will be like, come play with us and come drink with us and come have fun at work. We come to work, although it's not the best place to go, but like, we make it a good environment. But you come to work, and that's what we stand for. So we have, attorneys, we have accountants, we have property managers, we have construction development teams that set up in our areas. If they have big construction development going on in that area, they'll do like a pop-up, executive suite to house their teams there. We have mortgage brokers, financial institutions. Like, it really runs the gamut what we have. But what we've been seeing lately, which is new to us, is not this. We have a lot of small business, but what's new is we've been getting reached out to multiple times for corporate or large enterprise trying to place multiple employees with us, like big groups, like we need to house, 65 people in your location, or 40 desks, 65 desks. We just got one the other day for 200 plus some employees asking for a flexible, term with a full service. And so that's very new. And I say new in the last, I'd say 4 months, we've been seeing multiple leads coming in for that. So
They
I
didn't ask for
trying to
co-working,
figure-
did they? No.
No, they're not asking for co-working. They
I'm not
want,
arguing either way. I'm
and-
just saying, right, there's
yeah. And they're
you're underlying. I see.
I
see what you're
see what I'm
doing.
doing. But I love the way you put it, like flexible term, fully serviced.
fully serviced. They,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to say their names, but they're reputable companies, well-known companies that are big enterprise that need to house employees somewhere, and they want to get out of the big footprints and start putting them into, and flexible terms to them, they want to sign a 2 or a 3 year, which to us, we're like, that's
It's an
still very
eternity.
flexible, I'm like, but they're used to signing 10+ year terms, these bigger companies. So they're like, oh yeah, we want a 2 year, 3 year. That's really flexible to us. So,
Well, and the beauty of it is, if you're an employee these days, now you have the ability to negotiate all those things, right? So the talent now gets to decide where and what and how they get to work, right? And so that's one of those things that was the good things that came out of COVID for employees, not employers, right? Because employers would rather have everyone in the office, but the employees now decided, during COVID, they moved out of the Northeast, where you moved up to. They were moving down to Florida. So you've gone the opposite way, but they were moving there from big cities, and they just wanted to live somewhere where they could raise a family and they could enjoy the quality of life and all those things. And now that corporations are requiring it, they're going, if you want to keep me, I need flexibility. And so the two most expensive costs for a company are their people and their real estate. And so they can take care of both of those with a flex strategy in a lot of ways.
But I'm curious, when you get the 200 person demand, I'm guessing you don't have space for 200 people. Does it make
we
you-
don't.
Yeah.
But we still entertain the conversations because we are also a development construction company, and we also have commercial real estate, and we have the ability to go and develop something if it made sense for
Makes
us.
Yeah.
So, it's not ideal, obviously, to house 200 some people, but when we get into the 65 person or the 40 person, we also have ability to break into more square footage space in some of our locations, so we have a meeting on Friday with a group that I think they wanted 70 people.
Yeah.
So we're going to start having preliminary discussions on what their needs actually are. But, I have a question for you guys. What are you guys seeing in terms of lead generation with aggregators, brokers in the industry that are only focusing on executive suites or co-working space versus going with the big named loop nets and other type of, marketing dollars you can put elsewhere?
David, you want to start?
I was going to ask you if those leads came from like a marketplace, like a liquid space or
Brokers.
Did
But
those came from
brokers,
brokers?
but brokers that are only in this industry. They're only focused on this industry with enterprise companies.
Like an instant or
We get
No,
stuff from Instant every once in a while, but a lot of the stuff we get from Instant isn't necessarily qualified. It's an interesting interesting dynamic.
Well, that's what I was curious when you say brokers, but this industry specific, not one of the names that I would know. Like that
I
one of the
think this
bigger.
one of them is, it's not, so preferred, do you guys know, is it Carolyn at Preferred Office
Yeah,
Network?
PON.
Yeah,
That's
like,
actually
people
what
like
I was
her.
about to bring up.
Okay.
She's great. She's fantastic, but people like her. These are the type of leads
Okay.
we're getting from
Okay.
companies like her company.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I think just I'll let Gio jump in. The traditional brokers just still, I mean, maybe in Florida, but
I'm sorry, I should not have said traditional broker. I meant, companies like Carolyn's. Am I
Yeah,
saying?
and so I think it really comes down to what your mix is, right? And you're in a really unique market because it's so entrepreneurial, right? And so I think so many of the entrepreneurs are going to come through clicks and Google ads and that kind of stuff, as opposed to like PON. I'll tell you, and I don't know if it's public, but I wasn't told it wasn't, so I'm going to share it. But I mean, they've recently won a 200 location assignment from a big name, who I know I can't mention. But either way, I mean, they essentially have been pinged to go find 200 flex locations from across the country. And so I think to your question is the PONs, the instants, the liquid spaces, et cetera, those are going to get you access to the bigger names, right? And that's awesome to say, and I'm going to use EOS, who I've spent a bunch of time at their locations in Mexico, but they've got Roku and LinkedIn and, Molson Coors and all kinds of big names in their offices. But there comes complexities with that too, right? They want team spaces. They want multiple people. They want long-term leases or licenses, as opposed to your entrepreneur is looking for, 70 to 120 square feet, and it's just them, and they're okay with going year to year. And it really depends what your model is, right? And so, I think that's a big part of it is how's your space built? How are you trying to tap into that? But I mean, I think we're seeing more and more these bigger names use these bigger broker, aggregators, if you will, because they're just building relationships. And part of what our role at GWA is we're trying to figure out how to get more and more of these occupier directors of real estate, executives to these GWA conferences and Juicy, and how do we collaborate more with Cornet and ULI and some of those others so that we can bring different names to the table and be able to have these collaborative conversations.
I think also I would have been surprised if those enterprise leads were coming directly to you because it's so inefficient for them, right? They're probably placing people right potentially all over the country.
They put their feelers out and they see what operators reach back out to them.
Yeah. So the Allstate deal that we mentioned, I think before we started recording, that's Liquid Space, right? So Liquid Space has a platform, and if you're on it, then all the Allstate employees who now have access to Liquid Space can access your space. But Allstate's not going to go call 200 operators to do that. So I do think we'll see that growing. I think. Yeah, most typical spaces though can't take so I love that you have the real estate side because you can get creative and think, well, what do we do with that? Anybody with some ownership and flexibility on the real estate side of it can leverage those leads, but there's a lot of operators out there who can't, right? If you're even your smaller locations, like 11,000 square feet, you can't take 40 extra people.
Right, you can't. And I mean, unless you have the ability to break into more space, right? And then you have the question of, well, how long are they signing? What does that look like? And there's so many questions that come along with that, as you guys know, because what kind of investment are you going to put into a company that's going to leave in 3 years?
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother
You
discussion.
know who does a lot of that work is Kane Wilmot. Did you guys meet Kane IQ offices at one of the conferences? You should talk to him. He co-hosted with me this morning as a surprise treat. But he does a lot of creative deals with enterprise customers and creative deals with landlords to make it all work. You should call him. And Leanne, I'm happy to,
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, he would be happy to talk shop about that and might give you some ideas.
Some of the other stuff we do too, even if we don't involve the real estate arm of things, is, when you're getting new space, can you negotiate right of first refusal on additional space, right? So, so the opportunity for expansion. And then from there, we're really, really beating up our design right now on what is our product offering. So how big should the offices really be? And what type of corporate solution should already be naturally built into the floor plan? Because I think having all our eggs in one basket with just small business, although, like you said, it's such an entrepreneurial market in South Florida. Still, it's all our eggs in one basket if you had a shift in the economy. So having those corporate enterprise to have that stability during those down periods is really critical. So we're focused on the design, so we don't have to put more money into it. But having the development arm, if we go and make a call center like space for 600 square feet, and it doesn't fill, it doesn't cost us much money to make a hallway and turn that into 4 private offices. So we have some flexibility with that.
Yeah. So the interesting part is, and I always love having this conversation because part of what I learned at Regis in a lot of ways is that our industry is recession resistant, right? Not recession proof, but here's the reality is when something like a COVID happens, for example, we'll just continue using that one, is that you get people that basically are going, hey, you know what? I'm going to move home. I can't afford an office anymore. But the reality is then you have someone that had their own space or was employed that has now become unemployed and are consulting, or they're going, I always use the oil and gas industry as a great example, right? When the oil and gas industry is doing really well, they're taking up, lots of real estate, but they're also have an entire team they bring in. When market drops, they consolidate and they basically go back to just them, a landman or woman, and an executive assistant. And so they go into co-working spaces or executive suites or somewhere. And so interesting how people flex in and out. And part of it too is the executive suite, small to medium-sized business history is 30 years, right? So you have 30 years of overall healthy growth and proven track record, right? Even through the down times of how they've performed, as opposed to, we're all trying to figure out what happens with this enterprise business, right? And how long does it last and what does it look like and all those things. And so it's exciting, but at the same time, it can be pretty stressful when you're sitting there with a vacant suite that it's like, okay, how long before I build it out, back to your point, or did I build it right? A lot of people forget, you guys are a developer, so you get it, but a lot of people build it and they didn't take into account the sprinkler system, any of the mechanicals, right? The sprinkler system, the HVAC ducts, all those things. And so, yeah, you can build it, but then you got to make sure that you've built it with all that in mind.
Put contingencies everywhere.
That's a great way to put it.
I think it's important to note too, like the virtual revenue, right? And we should call out Jamie her moneymaker challenge that I just finished today, actually. So call out to her on that. But we've had some operators that we've consulted with as Jamie was getting this off the ground, her first location, and they cover 100% of their lease obligation with virtual revenue, right? And so in the event of where does some of this go? You really can take it far, well beyond just the 4 walls of the building that you have.
But here's an interesting one for y'all. So clearly Jamie and I are a great example is Jamie's got strengths that are weaknesses of mine and vice versa. And I would assume it's the same thing with the two of you. So Leanne, if you were to talk about Jamie's 2 greatest strengths and their 1 weakness that you're able to help out with, what would that be?
Jamie is the master seller. She can sell you anything. And if she calls a lead, she'll close it all day long, every day. And she comes up with continuously creative ways to spin the value of the product. So I don't sell, by the way. I mean, I do if I have to, but all that goes to Jamie. She's the mastermind behind all of that.
Okay, and that's one more positive.
And well, I would say that she's a great people person, right? The team, our retention, I think we still have our very original first employee that was ever hired with us. We don't have turnover. I hear that in the industry of, people go through community managers left and right. People love to work for Jamie. and our team does not turn over. We have a lot of tenure. So a huge value with that. Her leadership there is definitely very grounded.
And so what about the weakness that you're able to pick up on that she struggles with?
Jamie, I mean, you can argue me on this one, but she typically throws anything dollars my way. So money comes to me, analysis, forecasting, right? Is that fair to
Yeah,
say?
that's it. If I'm putting together a big deal, I typically go to Leanne because I want to do something, but I know that I might not be able to do it because she's going to put some type of restraint on me. So I learned very quickly to go to her I don't ask for forgiveness anymore. I ask for permission now.
No, it's a team effort.
So basically the detail side of things, right? You can start with selling, and then it's her job to help you put the deal together in a way that makes sense for y'all.
Yeah, I mean, on the simple deals, right? Those are easy, right? The 1 year terms or the month to month, the 6 month. But when you get into what we talked about earlier, the 60+ offices that we're talking about, no, I will bring Leanne in because I know that I'll tell her I can do it all day long, but she'll go in and actually run those numbers and model it out for us and see, you know, if you have to take on additional space, she'll go through the build outs, she'll go through the cash, the carry costs, she'll break down the entire model over a 10-year plan and say, this is what this looks like. This is what we need to make. And if we can't do this, then we're not doing that deal. And that's really where Leanne comes in and drives those numbers. So
and there's a lot of collaboration, right? Because you can run numbers all day long, but it doesn't mean you want to present it that way to the customer. So then we work together to figure out what's the right way to propose it that's digestible, that's easy, because selling something is very different than the accounting back end stuff.
Yeah.
Now, vice versa, Jamie. So Leanne's 2 qualities and 1 weakness.
Well, I think I kind of hit one of them already. I mean, she's very data driven, right? Like if Leanne can pull data out of something, she will squeeze it out of the team. She will create a report to get that data so we can understand the value proposition in everything we do. I mean, right now she has me working on an analysis for our marketing, where our marketing dollars are going, how much we're paying for those leads. Are we closing those leads? Obviously the marketing budget, you want to make sure it's going to the right place. So she's a data driven person, which helps us make decisions for our business. And Leanne, I could give you the same compliment. The team loves Leanne. They love working for Leanne. She speaks to almost everyone on our team daily. And I mean, employee retention, even our clients like Leanne, they all know her now. So, but in a weak position, I'm just going to call it out, Leanne, it's sales. Don't let them know.
I'm rightly aware.
It's what I'm good at is what she's not good at. That's your weakness, right? And vice versa. So, but she can sell though. But yeah, she can sell, but I usually, sorry, I had to ring. My beautiful son just came in to say hello. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of fun, right? I mean, Jamie really, we joke about our weaknesses, but at the end of the day, either one of us, if someone had to be on vacation, can run the business from beginning to end, right? You kind of cripple through the things that you're not great at, but I don't love selling. I can put on face for a day, but if I had to do it every single day, I'm tired. I have to go home and recharge, right? Jamie gets energized by that type of activity, so it's a good compliment to her personality.
Does your location team must close leads too? So Jamie's not.
They do. Yeah, they do. That the entire sales team that we have reports to me, and we all work together in collaboration. So, I live in the sales. I live with the sales team. And that's what we do every day. If I can be on the phone all day long and talk to people all day, I'd be very happy. That's where I like. If my phone's not ringing, then I feel like we're not making any money. That's how I feel.
Totally. That's probably not just a feeling, but accurate.
Yeah.
That's real. And Leanne has a CPA. You're a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't practice, and then we have Maria. I don't know. I think I made our other partner, Maria. We do have her too, and she's our CFO, and she takes care of really all of our corporate entity legal side of things. She prepares our financial statements at the end of the day. She helps us work with the banks when we need to go to the banks for things, and she closes the gap with our tax accountant, right, and works with them. But So we all kind of have our lane that we stay in that's very complementary.
So I have a quick kind of nuts and bolts question. You mentioned one team member for 18,000 feet. Did you say that?
15.
For
15.
15. Okay. One per 15. But then you mentioned a sales team. Is the sales team the location team, or do you have a separate sales team?
One and the same.
Okay. They are
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
So they're sort of the unicorn. He's great with the client, but also will put leads in the CRM and manage tours and with Jamie's
Yeah.
support. Okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's a different skill set, right? So your day-to-day hospitality, the servicing side is different than your sales side. So it's been an interesting journey for us because historically Jamie's handled 100% of it. And she just recently relocated in the last 6 months. So over the last year, we've been working to groom the team, train the team, get them accustomed to showing space themselves. But Jamie does a significant amount of follow-up. So every single day, she pulls the lead sheets. She talks to the community manager, says, what were the leads yesterday? And personally calls every single lead that came through the door. So she's easily able to qualify them and close them if the community manager hasn't been able to. And I think over the next 24 months, we'll just continue to season the team and give them those training plans, and they'll just get better and better at it every day.
Yeah, I don't know how long, how long we can sustain it, like how many centers we can have. But if you could call as an owner every lead that comes in or every move-in that comes in and thank them for being in your space and see how their user experience has been, and call every single renewal that's coming up and thank them for renewing or understand why they're not renewing, I think that just your retention stays, your hospitality is there, just everything flows. And like I said to Leanne, I don't know how long we can do that for, but as long as I can do it and we can do it, we're going to keep doing it. So.
And I think it goes back to the conversation Leanne and I had, right? She's like, well, we don't really do hospitality. I'm like, everything you just said is hospitality, right? It's everything from the first touch point to the last touch point and everything in between. And so sometimes we don't think that through, right? We don't think that that's what we're doing, but the reality is that's what creates the stickiness. The groups that did well through a recession, through COVID, through all these things are people that created that stickiness. And I know, and y'all probably had it, it'd be interesting to have that conversation, is there was members and clients coming to the owners of these co-working and executive suite spaces going, look, we want you to know we're not going anywhere. We're in this with you, but we can only pay X, Y, Z. Or how can we figure this out, as opposed to just bailing, right? Because they look at you as part of their community as much as you see them as part of your community.
And then I think there's a ton of value having that owner to owner discussion, right? They know they're at a decision maker. They're not having to have the conversation 3 times. And really we're small business as well. So the understanding of cash flow constraints, it becomes a much easier conversation. No, I shouldn't say easy. The conversations are not always easy, but it's definitely much easier than the staff handling it.
Jamie, I see you shaking your head. You got a question?
No, I was just reminiscing on those COVID days when client after client was calling me, asking me for, rent reprievement and, just what can you do for me? I don't want to leave. Just like you said, I want to stay, but I'm not in office and I can't pay this. And all my clients aren't paying me. And like landlord, you get treated like a landlord, which means they believe you have deep pockets, in my personal opinion. So they think that you can float them, but you almost had no option during that time. We dug deep and we floated and we helped every person that came to us. We gave them help. We tried our best to give them help. But I was very thankful that not every client came, because if every single client came, then it'd be a mass issue. But we had a lot of clients asking for help. And they're still with us today. To prove your point, they're still with us today.
I think our very first client is still with us today, right?
Our very first client, our very first 2 clients. And I haven't looked for past that, but they're still both with us.
That's incredible. Your first employee and your first 2 clients are still there. But wait, we're 5 years later, almost 6. Yeah,
6.
crazy. Okay, so I'm curious, since you're data driven, we were talking about lead gen, you're doing a big update to your website. Where do most of your leads come from today? What works best for you in terms of customer acquisition?
I would have said it if you would have asked me us that question 18 months ago, I would have told you LoopNet. That's not necessarily the case anymore. So that's what's driving some of this analysis that we're doing because we've seen a big change in the volume coming. A lot of it is because they've enhanced their system by working with CoStar to send more qualified leads. So some of it's natural just because you're getting more qualified
Better
versus
leads.
unqualified,
Yep.
but there's still been more erosion to it than that. So we're just trying to kind of look from there. Otherwise, in-house, it's through our website. It's back to the SEOs, the Googles. I think a lot of the stuff comes in through there. And then would you say third is referrals, Jamie?
Referrals, yeah, word of mouth, and now just some of these other aggregator platforms like the office networks, preferred office networks, like people that are just sending over business. Have you guys heard of, is it Office Hub? Have you guys heard of them?
Yeah, they're based out of Australia, and they've been making a big splash or trying to make a big splash here in the US, but they've had a couple different directors that they're trying to put in that position, but they do really well in Europe and in Australia, but they're Australian based.
So they're trying to get us to sign contracts with them right now, and I've seen some of their leads come through. They're sending us leads, and they say they pre-qualify their leads, and they're sending over a lot more information than I've seen are we calling them aggregators, than other aggregators do. You know, like how many people, what's their term, what's their budget, what locations are they looking in? Like they give you a pretty good amount of information versus what a LoopNet would give you. It's not a lot. Just wondering if you guys knew anything about them.
I'm so misunderstood.
You're in hate.
I just
Proceed with
got
caution.
censored. I just got censored. What's his name? He keeps coming in. We have to meet him now, Jamie.
Totally.
What's
Let's
his
see.
name?
Wow. Can we see him?
You're hiding him from us. What's his name, Jamie? Jamie Willard.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're asking who I'm talking to?
Yep. We want to see your
What's
son.
his name?
Let's say hello.
His name is Hudson.
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 Yes,
Come say hi.
he's my 8-year-old. Hudson, you want to come say hi really quick? Just come say hi. This way, you got to say hi first. Let's say hi. Hi.
They can hear you, but they want to say hi. There we go.
I want
Hi,
to give
Teddy.
you Hudson. Hey, can you say goodbye? Goodbye.
10 more minutes, and then you can have mommy back.
10 more minutes.
You got this.
Thank
Here,
you,
I'll let-
Hudson.
Oh, you know what? Let me give you my other one. This is the one. He wants my phone, of course, like all the little kids want, right? You can play these two games.
Little kids and
I'll
big
I'll
kids.
download it for you, okay? A minute. Sorry, I couldn't put you guys on mute.
No, you're fine.
Well, Leanne, you must be going through Hudson withdrawal.
I know. And even her oldest, my birthday was a couple weeks ago and the kids called me and it was like, I didn't realize how much I missed them until they called me, and it was cute. But I told Jamie, I said, or her older one who's 11, I told him, I said, we're coming up. Uncle Mike and I are coming up. We'll go snowboarding. And he proceeded to tell me how he was going to bet $50 on himself to beat Uncle Mike down the mountain and how Uncle Mike is an old man. And I was just, it was hysterical.
That's
Well,
amazing.
and an
Yeah.
8-year-old, I might put money on him as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
8-year-olds on skis or snowboards are, watch out. Yes.
Yeah.
This I have a school picture. I know this is so off subject, but like this is my older one that she's talking about.
How old is he?
He's 11. That's the snowboarder.
Oh, he's a snowboarder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Even though
At
he's
that
not a
age, they're
snowboarder.
fearless. They have no
Totally.
fear.
I gotta tell you, if I had the ability to put him on a snowboard team, he'd probably go somewhere with it. He's that good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very fun. How did he get that good growing up in Florida?
Well, so his father's from New Jersey. His father was on the ski team in Vermont, and my fiance and I have a house in Vermont. So like he lives a lot up in the Vermont area during the winter months.
Okay.
Lots of snowboarding.
Vermont, the like ice.
Well,
ice
wait,
skiing.
his father's goes to Stratton, and I go to Okemo.
Okay, got it. Fun.
But he's got the best of both worlds.
Totally. Love it.
Yeah, Jamie's a skier.
I grew up in upstate New York, so I can appreciate like the ice skiing, skiing under the lights at night. Like maybe your toes are gonna fall off because you have what's the word when your toes fall off? Anyway,
Frostbite.
it is-
Frostbite.
Yeah,
frostbite.
frostbite.
Yes. Yeah. Now we live 3 hours from Tahoe, which is amazing. It's like a dream. We love
Oh,
it. We do a lot of
nice.
skiing. And my daughter's 13 and she is an excellent skier. Yeah.
There's nothing like skiing out west, though. I mean, it beats the East Coast all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
But access is the best part of it. So if you're close to mountains, that's the best.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I'm curious, Leanne, you went to the conference this year. What did you see that was energizing or exciting to you about the industry?
I have to tell you, my whole time there was consumed about anxiety of sitting on Gio's panel. So I
You
just
didn't enjoy a minute of it.
So I could not enjoy myself whatsoever. No, I don't. I just enjoy making the connections there. I enjoy meeting the other operators. I think it's wild to me how much everybody shares. And my background, my whole professional background, it's just never really that transparent.
Real estate people don't share. Yeah, they like to keep it in the
close to their
except
chest,
Gio.
right?
Gio excluded.
But so I just enjoy the people, and everyone's so friendly, and it's a great group, right? And I walk away with something that I learn every single year, and never walk away with not any value add. So we'll continue going for sure. I wasn't sure about going. I wanted to go to Immerse in New York, but that's coming fast and furious. I don't know if we'll make it, but New York, what a great location. I just want to go to New York. Really.
I still believe I'm going to that. I just, I'm ready to hop.
You can totally go. You're so close.
No reason for me not to go over there. So.
And so the beauty of it is, so not only did we pick New York because it's New York during the holidays, right? There's nothing better than New York for Christmas, but also because we have access to so many landlords and vendors and even real cool operators, because you have to be super unique to be up in that market. But I mean, so we've actually at this point pretty much solidified everyone. We have someone from Brookfield that's going to be on the panel. We've got someone from WeWork and Industrious that are both going to be there from the real estate team. So that'd be a really good, interesting conversation. The Well team is based there. So Instant and Well are going to be talking about the new Coworking Well certification that they came up with.
Oh, great.
And then we've got some great conversations on the technology front. So it's super exciting. I mean, it's a lot of content squeezed into one day, but it's great. So we'll actually do a happy hour on Wednesday night, the 11th at OFS and Room. It's OFS's showroom, but they also own Room, but that's going to be at the Empire State Building. So she's promised us that there's passes to go up to the top for the people that want to go up there. So that'll be fun on Wednesday. And then Thursday we go from 9:30 to 5:30. And then tours on on Friday that are going to be, at this point, we've got Convene, Industrious, WeWork, a Square, and the Mullen. So it'll be fun. So if you can make it, it'd be awesome.
I will tell you, Gio, I love the tour version of the events. This year was the first time I went, and I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. To see how other people put their space together and their creativity, I found it incredibly useful for us. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, Gio, I'm going to ask my wrap-up question.
Go for it.
Okay, you two are out for a sister's night out, no kids, no husbands. You're karaokeing. What's your karaoke song?
Oh, goodness.
Oh, no.
We Are Family.
Oh, my
There you
gosh.
go.
Yeah.
That's a good
I
one.
tell you, we've played that at every family event. So you know what? That's it.
It's my wedding. Every family wedding, it's the last song we end the night with.
Very nice. Okay, love it. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this, especially Jamie, who's got Hudson in the background wanting his mom's attention.
Yeah,
was
I
great.
appreciate you guys being nice to him and saying hello.
Of course.
Totally, of course.
We appreciate him letting us use you for this podcast for an hour.
Yeah, it was great to get to know both of you better and hear more about your story and your business. So hopefully we'll see you at the next event.
Yeah. If you guys are ever in the South Florida market, you have to let us know. We'd love to show you a space.
Totally.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.